Boys, what's good? We're here with the 15th episode of the Herm Cet Show, a mostly weekly podcast about all things basketball, news, updates, hot takes, and we're doing a little feature of players today who've balled out in the preseason so far. They got like 1 game to 3 games, I believe, is about the thing here. I'm Nate Herman, and I'm joined by my co-host Ethan Seddon. E, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. We're dressed up. I'm a little overdressed, I feel like, for the podcast.
Looking spiffy.
But we just know that, fan of the podcast, Keegan Murray's watching, so yeah. I gotta make sure I'm dressed up for it.
Gotta look good. So we're gonna keep it to a minute for each player is the goal here. We got 30 guys, so we're gonna run through them, talk about them. But first up, the Hawks. Trent Forrest balling out game 1, 13 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 5 of 6 from the field. The Hawks need backup guards. Lou Williams no longer there. Kobe Buffkin is a young guy, but outside of that, they don't really have a lot. They cut Sharif Cooper. He's out of town. So really the Hawks not stacked up on young guards. So Trent Forrest is big for them. Okongwu played all right, but what do you think about Trent Forrest, Florida State guy?
Trent Forrest, Hooper could potentially produce this upcoming season. Good to see him drop 13 points in a preseason game.
Yeah.
I remember when I was dropping 13 points in AAU games as well. Not to hate on Trent Forrest, but we'll see if we can translate that into some regular season play off the bench. But good for him.
We'll spend a small amount of time
on Trent
Forrest, and we'll move on to the second guy who plays for the Boston Celtics, and that's Payton Pritchard.
Much better.
Payton Pritchard has been very good over their first 3 games. Recently paid, I think it was like 30 over 4 years, something like that.
I think it was 40. It might have been 40.
Was it? Some people were complaining it's so high.
No.
It looks good right now.
Underpaid.
26 points, 21 points, and then 17 points tonight in their third game. They moved out a couple of guards, Smart and Brogdon, brought Holiday back. So the kind of third guard spot is up for grabs, and Payton Pritchard is kind of solidifying himself as the guy to take that spot.
We saw him in that last regular season game last season drop that triple-double.
Yeah.
And I am a huge Payton Pritchard fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think he absolutely can help offenses. His defense, maybe not so much.
Yep.
But I think, with his energy and quickness, I think he can contribute on the defensive end progressively over the season and later in his career. But this year, I just really love his playmaking skills, and he can also score. People don't talk about his scoring enough.
92 in the Pro-Am game.
See? Right there. A perfect example.
Everybody knows Payton Pritchard. He's dropping buckets all the time.
Almost as good as Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, almost. He's right there. They got some other guys that played pretty well for them. Delano Banton's been good. Ashe Brissett, guys like
Kristaps
that.
Porzingis.
Yeah, Porzingis has been awesome, but
he's been great.
He's been kind of limited minutes, so we'll see what that looks like. But as long as he doesn't get injured, he's going to be great for them. So I'm excited for that. We'll move on to the third team, I believe, is the Nets. And it's Cam Thomas. It's my boy. I love Cam Thomas. That's my guy. He's a bucket getter. That's what he does. Ain't shit funny. That's what he says. He's dropping buckets all the time. But he's out here. Every time he gets minutes, he scores a lot of points. 26 points against the Lakers, 9 of 14 from the field. And the big thing, I've heard people talking all summer. He can't play defense. He can't pass. He's not a good player. Cam Thomas is a good player. He should be playing for them. And he started. Jacques Vaughn maybe turning a page. He decides he likes Cam Thomas now. Who knows? But I'm excited to see it. I think he's a guy who could average 20 if he has real minutes, just because scoring is what he does.
Yeah, he dropped a couple 40 pieces last season.
Yeah, 3 in a row, right?
Yeah, 3 in a row.
Yeah.
He's a bucket getter.
He is.
He can go out there, and if you tell him, go get me a bucket,
he's
he's going to go get you a bucket. So I really like Cam Thomas. His scoring ability is off the charts.
He's a lot like Jalen Green to me. He doesn't quite have the same opportunity.
Sure.
But I think the mold in which the guys are as athletic scoring types is kind of similar. Cam a little shorter, not quite the same springy athlete he is. But we'll move on to Charlotte, I believe, is team number 4. A lot of things going on with Charlotte.
Oh, my boy.
But Gordon Hayward.
My man.
He's been good. Gordon Hayward kind of balling out, bringing it back. Maybe a resurgent year for Gordon Hayward this year. 15 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 6 from the field. Just doing a little bit of everything. That's what Gordon Hayward does. It's what he's done for a long time.
For years, people have swept Gordon Hayward under the rug. Yeah. They said he'll never be the same since his Utah Jays. I've stuck with Gordon Hayward. I've supported him through the highs, through the lows. And here we are, the resurgence of Gordon Hayward. We are going to see this upcoming season potential all-star season coming for Gordon Hayward when he averages 22 a game.
They might need him. I mean, Kai Jones, the GOAT, just got waived today. Big things.
Tragic. Their GOAT life.
I mean, Miles Bridges worn out for his arrest. Things are not great in Charlotte right now.
So Gordon Hayward is going to step up.
They need to step up from Gordon Hayward. But we'll move on. I believe Chicago. Yeah, we're talking about Kobe White. Mm-hmm. Kobe White is kind of making his claim as the starting point guard. They don't really have an elite starting point guard. Alex Caruso, great defender, that's what he does. Javon Carter, great defender, what he does. Ayo Dosunmu, he was good his rookie year, not as much last year. But Kobe White, he's a scorer. He's a scorer, and he wants to take it. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 60% from the field for Kobe White.
You didn't name Lonzo Ball.
Well, Lonzo's not playing.
Lonzo's going to play. He's going to emerge
He's out all
from
season.
the locker room in a random February game. And the resurgence of Lonzo Ball.
Tweeted 2 minutes before tip-off.
Yeah.
Shams Charania, Lonzo Ball is active.
He's active tonight. He's in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
He's going to drop a triple-double in his first game back. I'm calling it now. Clip it.
But Kobe White, good. Maybe he can be the point guard.
We're talking about Kobe White. Yes, Kobe White.
Early in
good player.
Yeah, he's good. We can move on from Kobe White. And then we were talking about the Cavs. Isaac Okoro. They bring in some guys. They bring in Max Strus. They bring in Georges Niang. Mm-hmm. They re-sign Karis LeVert. They say, we're trying to replace you as the starting small forward. And Isaac Okoro says, not so fast. 19 points in his preseason debut. 6 of 8 from the field. Solid game for Isaac Okoro. Really good defender already. If he can be a consistently solid offensive player, it's huge for them. I mean, he was a top 5 draft pick for a reason, and he's trying to show it right now.
They said, Isaac, you can't score. Your reliability on offense.
Yep.
He said, watch this.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Goes out. He's a scorer now. He's a bucket.
He is. Emoni Bates also pretty quietly solid game in his debut. I think he had like 10
We
points.
said it on the last podcast. Yeah. Emoni Bates
could steal the starting spot.
Absolutely.
But I think Isaac Okoro looked really good. He's trying to make the claim for that spot right now. But we move to what is, I believe, the 7th team, and we are looking at the Mavs and Jaden Hardy. Another guy like Cam Thomas is just a bucket getter. He's out there. He's scoring points, 22 points, 8 rebounds in his second game versus Minnesota. The other 2 games they've had, kind of hit or miss, like 13 and 10 points respectively in the 2 games, I think. They got beat by Real Madrid. So, we don't need to talk about that.
Was it Real Madrid or
really.
FC Barcelona? Which one?
It was Real Madrid.
Real Madrid?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Ronaldo's
knew that.
team.
I didn't watch the game. I just went on Instagram, and when I had to do a double take as I was scrolling. I said, what happened?
Yeah.
I'm not going to trash them. People say that we're negative. Yeah. But I will say, that is a little concerning.
It is, for sure. It was also Luka's former team, which was what made it very ironic, that his former team did a better job building a unit than the current team he's on right now.
I'm sure Mark Cuban was happy about that.
I'm sure Luka was also thrilled.
Yes.
He said, all these guys, Grant Williams is my 3rd best player. I'm so thrilled.
Who
Our
doesn't love a good
team
Grant
is
game?
elite. But we'll move on from Jaden Hardy, and we'll talk about the Nuggets with Julian Strawther, who dropped 20 in his debut preseason game. I thought maybe it'd be a little Hunter Tyson.
I thought so too.
Is the sniper rookie. But
right.
Julian Strawther playing like prime Klay Thompson. He's pulling from deep. He's out here. He's playing defense. The Nuggets just draft well. Christian Braun last year, Julian Strawther this year, 5 rebounds as well, 8 of 12 from the field.
I'm going to call out one of our hate comments in our last podcast. They said, the Nuggets bench, they lost so much. Well, right here, we have a case of the Nuggets bench, them finding gems, and they're going to continue their surge in the Western Conference because they just find guys like this.
It's just what they do. Also, playing with Jokic tends to make just everyone better. So
exactly.
that's very beneficial to them, and the Nuggets have done a good job of finding guys again and again. Then we look at the Pistons. I want to talk about Assar Thompson, guy from the draft this year. I thought about talking about Marvin Bagley, who had like 25, but I don't want to talk about Bagley. I want to talk about Assar, who had 12 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and Monty Williams played him for a staggering 38 minutes in his preseason debut that went to overtime. He's just so good. You can never take him off the floor, really. He's always there. He does a little bit of everything. I love what Assar does.
I don't even know what to say right now because I'm like, yeah, no, I'm positive about all these guys. And then you drop me with a Assar Thompson.
Assar Thompson's the problem, but Trent Forrest was okay.
Trent Forrest was a little bit better than...
Assar Thompson is a top 5 pick.
He's an AAU player.
The overtime elite.
He played at Disney World.
Doesn't matter.
He's a Disney World player. He's an actor.
He was good in the summer league. He's good in the preseason. He's going to be good in the regular season.
Oh, we're going to see about that.
You see what they did? They pushed Ivy to the bench, started Assar Thompson, and started Alec Burks while Ivy
I love Alec Burks. Throwback 2016 Utah. You're kidding me.
So that's the vibe out there in Detroit, I guess. They said, we need a little shooting.
I love that.
Cade Ivy Assar is not going to cut it. The shooting there is very questionable. But Assar hit a huge 3 to send it to overtime.
We did see that.
He does that. That's just what he does. Hit a big 3 in the summer league as well.
That's over a minute. Our
We're out of time on Assar Thompson. We'll move on to the Warriors, and we'll talk about Jonathan Kuminga.
The cum bucket.
Who was cooking. The cum bucket was phenomenal. 24 points, 8 rebounds. You know, it's a preseason game. The points isn't what really matters. Yeah. The rebounding is good. That's what they need. That's what they need off the bench from Kuminga. If he's going to come in and he's going to play minutes, they need him to rebound. They need him to play defense, and they need him to cut. Like, guys will find him if he cuts. He's not going to be like the lead offensive option on pretty much any night for the Warriors. They have so many offensive guys. But I really liked what I saw from him, and I think Chris Paul is going to really help him look even better.
I think with Kuminga, you know, in that stacked lineup, you know, you have a lot of veterans in front of you. You have to do the little things well.
Yep.
And rebounding, like you pointed out, that's something that he has to do well in order to stay on the floor.
For sure.
I think rebounding and also just excelling on the defensive end so he can have the veteran guys go out there and score. You know, your Stephs, your Chris Pauls, your Klay Thompsons. Him taking the load on defense is going to be a big thing for him upcoming this year.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that have lasted from that 2 timelines era. Wiseman's out the door.
Exactly.
Jordan Poole is out the door. But Kuminga, they're still holding out a little hope, and he's trying to do what he can to prove that he deserves minutes on this team. You know, drew a lot of Paul George comparisons coming in, but I wouldn't say he's probably going to reach that. But, I mean, you never know. You never know. Then we'll move on to the Rockets. Cam Whitmore, my boy. I thought about talking about Alperen Şengün because he was balling too. We do love Alpi out here. But Cam Whitmore, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the field. Should have been a Laker, you know, but at the end of the day, that is what it is. But Cam Whitmore looks great. I talked about him a day or two ago in a video just for him because he's really balling out. I think he's going to be a star in this league. And the Rockets, who have a ton of young talent, Cam Whitmore is going to end up being high on the list of their guys.
I think he's going to see a lot of minutes this year.
Yeah.
And he's just going to continue to accelerate his game on the offensive end. And we're going to see him also, you know, have to do little things like passing the ball.
Yeah.
And if he can pass the ball well, I think he's going to play a big role in that offense this year.
Yeah, I mean, Udoka's going to like him, and he's going to end up getting minutes. I think that's going to be the thing for him. Yeah. But the shot selection is going to be a thing. You know, a lot of times it's contested shots he's taking, but...
That's why I think him learning how to pass.
Yeah, it's a learning curve for sure, yeah. Playing with Fred VanVleet might not be the best helping thing for that, you know. Fred VanVleet, I think, shot 3 of 11 in his Rockets debut, and Dylan Brooks kicked out within 5 minutes.
Oh, so. I was going to talk about that, actually. Yeah, Dylan Brooks.
He's got great mentors over there in Houston.
Did you see him give the nickname for himself?
Yes, Dylan the Villain.
Dylan the Villain.
Yes.
He's like, he went home in the mirror and was like practicing that. He's like, I am Dylan the Villain. I am Dylan the Villain.
Yeah, very Dennis the Menace vibes. You know, very unique from Dylan Brooks. But he wants to be the villain.
I saw a comment. I got to point this out on Instagram. Shout out to whoever made this comment. I saw someone's like, no. His name is not Dylan the Villain. It's Brooks the Crooks for stealing $80 million from the Rockets.
That's great. I still love the clip where LeBron and AD are just staring him down after blocking him. Yeah. He just walks away. Nothing he can do. Well, that's past a minute, I think, on the Rockets.
I don't care.
We'll move past the Rockets. For the Pacers, I want to talk about Jarris Walker, top 10 pick for them in this year's draft. In his first game, 19 points, 9 rebounds, most of it in the second half. I think he's probably not going to start. I think Obi Toppin is going to be the starting power forward for them. But Jarris Walker, a guy who is kind of like an old school power forward, physical, will body some guys, and is a unique player for the Pacers.
Yeah, I liked, you mentioned physical. That was the exact word I was going to use.
Yeah.
Just seeing some film from him, I think if Obi Toppin, he might get hurt later this year. We know that he can, run into injuries. And I think that we might see him make a couple starts this year.
He could.
We'll see if he can, help lead that, middle-of-the-road Pacers team maybe to a playoff spot.
Yeah, they could totally be that. I think they're one of the risers in the East.
Sure.
And Jarris Walker can be a big piece for them going forward this season. But moving on to the Clippers, Bones Highland, Mr. Street Ball handle out here. 18 points, 4 assists, 50% from the field is okay, 7 of 14. It sounds like a lot of shots, for Bones Highland. He's probably not going to be taking that on a normal basis. But, he's another one of those guys that just scores. He's a bucket getter.
Yeah, he could score. And I think Ty Lue is saying, go out there and, take shots. See what you can do. And I think for him, these early games are feeling out what you can do.
Yep.
What we might need to stay away from or work on. And then there's going to be times this season where he'll be asked on certain nights to, hey, go out and carry this offense if you make a start.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those older Clippers teams, Lob City, Lou Williams, that scoring type off the bench. I think that's what they might look at Bones Highland to do, to be, like a 15-point per game guy off the bench, fill it up for us when we have guys resting, but they do have Norman Powell who'll probably come off the bench. So we'll see what it looks like for Bones in terms of shots he gets up, but it is a talented young guy for sure. I don't think anyone would argue that. But then we're going to move to the Lakers, and power forward, Rui Hachimura. Everybody loves Rui. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 8 of 14 from the field. I thought about talking about Austin Reeves, who had 18 points. Kind of went back and forth with Cam Thomas in their opening game. D'Lo has been pretty good through the first 2 games as well. Nice. That's a nice bonus there. Great passing. I love to see it. But Rui looks good. Is kind of building on the good playoffs he had last year.
Yeah, he worked with LeBron a lot this summer.
Yeah.
And I think we see that right away, just coming in, and they said, all right, Rui, you're going to take even a further step this year.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see how he just impacts this offense, because I think he's going to have some games where he scores over 30.
Yeah, he could. I hope he starts. I know they're looking at different guys.
Yeah.
They're looking at Jared Vanderbilt. I know they started Torian Prince for one game. Christian Wood, I would never start him, but, he's in the convo. But to me, I think Rui should be the starter at the 4 spot.
In a couple of these games this year, we're going to see Rui be the number 1 option on offense. Yeah. And he's going to hit some threes. And I just love seeing him, work outside to in and get points just going to the rim.
Yeah. I mean, I love the starting unit there. You have D'Lo, you have Reeves, LeBron, Rui, and AD. On any given night, any of those guys can give you 20 pretty easily. Yeah. So I like the versatility offensively that the Lakers have if they use that lineup. And I think because of that, Rui might start. Really good off-ball score as well. Doesn't need the ball a ton to score. Yeah, just catches it. He'll pull up, a lot like Lowry plays to a lower extent, but in a similar facet to that kind of game. But then we look at the Memphis Grizzlies. Desmond Bane has gotten better in every season he's played. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Solid second game for Desmond Bane. Derrick Rose kind of cooked in game 1, 13 points in the first half, I think. We like Dylan Brooks. Not Dylan Brooks, sorry. Derrick Rose. We like Derrick Rose. Thinking of former Grizzly, Dylan Brooks, Hey, get him out of here. He's no longer on the team.
You're just you can't get rid of the image, Dylan the villain.
Yeah, and it never leaves your head, honestly. Kenneth Lofton also, I think, had 11 points in 11 minutes, bully, bigger guy. But Desmond Bane, he was cooking.
Yeah, and my feelings about Desmond Bane. I respect him as a player.
Sure.
Maybe not my favorite.
Yeah.
But we'll see what Desmond Bane can do this upcoming season. He can score the ball.
Yeah.
He's a good perimeter defender. And good to see him scoring early, because they're going to be without Ja.
Yeah.
He's going to have to score a little bit more than normal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when Marcus Smart gets there, what it looks like. Hasn't played for them yet, but we'll see what that looks like in a little bit. And then for the Heat, forward, former Laker,
Cole Swider.
17 points, 5 of 9 from the field. The Heat just do this, I guess, They take other people's trash. They say, this is our treasure. Yes. These guys are going to ball. Cole Swider last year, I was looking at it after the game, averaged 1.3 points per game last year, had a season total of 9 points, but has 17 in his preseason debut with the Miami Heat. He's out here. He's a sharpshooter. Thomas Bryant was good for them also, I guess, former Laker legend as well. But what do you think about Cole Swider?
I've said I love this Heat team, and I want to sit down with Eric Spoelstra and just ask him, like, how do you develop these guys? Like, what do you feed them? What do you say to them?
Heat culture.
Something about Heat culture, because he is making Cole Swider something that is to be reckoned with in this league. We'll see if he goes out in the regular season and does some things off the bench. But Cole Swider, remember the name.
Yeah. Jaime Jaquez, too. You see that that rip through he had? He did like 3 pivots, goes up past Gordon Hayward.
We've been a Jaime fan for years. Years.
Yeah. Triple J. Throw Jaren Jackson Jr. out of here. It's Jaime Jaquez Jr. That's who we care about. But bucket getter, I like him. Does everything. So I really like Jaquez. I'm excited for him with this team. Then for the Bucks, my guys Marjan Beauchamp, shooting guard. I'm a big fan. I talked about him a bunch of times. 18 points and 9 rebounds. Solid rebounder for a shooting guard. Is a physical guy and not the best three-point shooter out there. That's something he's got to work on. Sure. But he's trying to kind of emerge as the starting shooting guard for this Bucks team. Could be Malik Beasley, could be Pat Connaughton. There are a few different guys who are kind of in the running for it. But Marjan, in his second season, is making a real case for it to be him, and he had a good summer as well.
Yeah, there's some guys that might be ahead of him, and it's going to be interesting to see the trust that is given to him. And I think another thing is he's going to get some opportunities early on in the season to play. And how he plays in those opportunities, I think is going to dictate how in the second half of the season, how he's used and even up to the playoffs. Because young guys getting chances early, you have to prove that, hey, I'm here. I can compete with these veterans. Yeah. And I think that's going to be a great example for him.
I think the best thing with Marjan is that he's very complimentary. You're running Malik Beasley out there. Damian Lillard might get a little upset because Malik is taking all his shots away. Malik is kind of a chucker, as I've seen him on the Lakers last season. Yes, we have. He likes to pull. But Marjan is going to attack the rim. He's going to score off of cuts. It's not going to be, taking shots away on the perimeter. So while, maybe the shooting could get better, I like the way he plays next to Damian Lillard. I think is a more complementary fit than a guy like Malik Beasley is. Looking at the T-Wolves, I have Naz Reid, center, the third center for the Timberwolves. But 16 points and 14 points, respectively, in the 2 games. Solid score. He's been that for a while now. But, got paid this offseason. I think that's a pretty good sign that one of the 2 other centers are going to get moved. But Naz Reid is there, and he puts in work. He doesn't complain. He just quietly goes out and hoops.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching Naz Reid because he's a physical guy, and he's just going to snatch rebounds. And also, you know what I enjoy? I watch him shoot some three-pointers, and it's like, this dude is shooting a three-pointer, and it goes in.
He's got a little mid-range to him, too.
Yeah, he can stretch, and I think that's a great sign of him getting paid, that hopefully one of the other guys gets shipped away.
One of them gets shipped out too. Luka Garza was quietly balling the
other day. We love Luka Garza. We're a big fan. Luka Garza, I know you're watching the podcast. Come on, join the podcast. We want to talk about Luka Garza and his scoring, his little post move. I love me some Luka Garza.
Old school game. Yes. Everybody loves Luka Garza. Former National Player of the Year at Iowa.
I love
Dominant player at Iowa.
I was a fan. I was a fan for years.
But, we don't need to talk about Timberwolves centers forever. So we'll move on to the Pelicans. Shooting guard Dereon Seabron. That was really good. 13 points, 5 rebounds, 5-8 from the field. I just like it, man. He's cooking. I look at their other scores. The field goal percentage from everyone else was pretty bad, but Seabron was cooking. Former NC State legend.
Serious.
Hey, you saw you're cooking.
I can't.
No disrespect to Dereon. I don't know what we're doing here. He's going to watch it. He's never going to come on the pod.
No, he's not going to join the podcast now because we just went from Naz Reid, Desmond, Bane, Rui Hachimura to Seabron.
He's the next great Pelican.
No, next one.
We'll move on from Seabron.
Oh, and then we're on
to the
Emmanuel
Knicks.
Quickly.
Emmanuel Quickly, 21 points, 8 of
different.
14 from the field. He looks back. He looks just like he was last season, where he should have won Sixth Man of the Year, Malcolm Brogdon. What are we talking about?
Get him out of
Emmanuel Quickly, although he did most of his damage as a starter, he qualified for the award, so he should have won. But great season from Quickly, and he looks to build on it again this year. I don't think he's going to start still, but
I enjoy watching Emmanuel Quickly. I think
more than Seabron.
More than Seabron. I'm locked into Emmanuel Quickly right now.
Okay.
Emmanuel Quickly, I love his perimeter defense. I enjoy watching him grow as a scorer and as a playmaker especially. I think he needs to, mature a little bit on the offensive side. And, coming out, scoring a decent amount in the preseason, I think that's a good sign for the Knicks. We'll have to see what our boy Coach Thibs has to say.
He's going to start Quentin Grimes. That's what he's going to do.
No, we know.
I like Grimes, too. No offense to Grimes.
That's that high-arcing three.
Yeah. Former Houston Cougar, bucket getter. But we'll move on. We'll talk about the Thunder. Chet Holmgren was phenomenal in his debut. 21 points, 9 rebounds, 7 of 10 from the field. Was flexing on Wembanyama. Mm-hmm. Was doing the Shedeur Sanders wrist flex. He's out here. Look at my watch. He's spacing the floor. He's hitting the hand
on my
ones.
wrist.
He looked great. He kind of looks like their next version of KD. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, obviously, but 7'1" and really spaces the floor and can finish inside. Didn't get bodied either. I saw him. Zach Collins was trying to body him. He blocked that with 2 hands. He says that's not happening. And they're going to play him at center, which is, a little different approach than the Spurs, which we'll talk about later. But Chet Holmgren was great in his debut.
I think I saw this report. I know I saw it, that he gained a decent amount of muscle from when he first got drafted to now. So I think that gap year, with the injury, I think he's added a lot to his game. And physically especially. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited because I think he has a chance, if he stays healthy, he could possibly snag Rookie of the Year away.
He could.
From either Scoot or Victor. Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what his role looks like offensively, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously first-team All-NBA last year, over 30 points a game. That's a lot of offense. That's a lot of it's going to go to Shai. But interestingly, with all the other guys there, Giddey was there, J-Dub was there, but Chet was the guy. Chet was the number one guy out there. So it's interesting to see if he'll be like the number 2 with this Thunder team, or if that's going to be J-Dub or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
But Chet looked really good, and I think Thunder fans have to be super excited to watch him going forward.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on to the Magic and talk about your guy, Cole Anthony.
Been waiting for this one.
Cole Anthony was balling. 13 points, 4 assists, 5 of 10 from the field. Just came off the bench and lit it up. They're trying to take all his guard minutes away, but he's another one of those guys that says, not too fast. I'm here and I'm going to score.
I've been saying it for months now, since the start of the podcast.
Yeah. First episode, probably.
Watch out for Cole Anthony. I brought up his off-season workout videos, and I was made fun of. I was harassed. And here we are. Cole Anthony, proving the haters wrong, proving the doubters wrong. Cole Anthony going in there and putting in work off the bench.
Yeah.
I see a potential 6th Man of the Year for Cole Anthony this year. Mark my words. Cole Anthony going to be a difference maker and lead the Magic to a playoff spot.
He has a really fair case as like the Magic's second best guard. I think Fultz is awesome. Fultz is probably the team's 3rd best player.
Yeah.
But I think Cole Anthony, outside of that, might really be their best guard. I mean, Jalen Suggs hasn't quite lived up to what people wanted him to look like. Anthony Black is still kind of early on. So Cole Anthony, he really could be a huge player for this Magic team this season. So I know you're excited to watch it.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to make him watch all these Magic games.
Yeah.
And we're going to be cheering. I'm going to be cheering on Cole Anthony at least.
Yeah.
So Cole Anthony, big fan right here.
Yeah, Cole Anthony, soon to be friend of the pod, obviously.
Soon to be friend of the pod.
76 years. I want to talk about Jaden Springer, who's another very good young player for them, who, was a first-round pick a couple of years ago, is kind of going under the radar, hasn't got a ton of minutes. But with Nick Nurse there, Doc Rivers is no longer there. He says, I like this guy. I'm going to play this guy. 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 of 7 in his first game, 10 points, 4 of 6 in his second game. Very athletic, like his name. He's very springy. He gets up. He's going to throw down. And but gets rebounds. He's a hustle guy and can space the floor. So I like what I've seen from him. If Harden isn't there, they're going to need more guys to step up, and that could lead to a much bigger role for Springer this season.
I haven't seen much of Springer. I've seen a little bit on social media.
Yep.
But I think my two questions are going to be, how does Nick Nurse use him, and how does he play along if James Harden is there? Because, it's hard to be a young guard in this league when you have veterans ahead of you.
Yep.
And I'm going to see him get some opportunities, and we'll see how he molds into that Nick Nurse offense, because Nick Nurse can always work out things.
Yeah, I mean, him and Maxey, they could really have some going forward. So to have two young guards, I think, is great for your team, especially when there's a lot outside of that that's kind of chaotic. The Suns' Grayson Allen was cooking.
Yes.
Grayson Allen, 18 points in his Suns' preseason debut. Is saying, maybe I should start along all these guys. They got Nurkic starting at the 5, and then the other 3 guys are out there. Book, KD, Beal, they're going to start. So who is the 5th starter? A lot of people say it might be Josh Okogie. He's a good candidate to do it. Eric Gordon as well. Yuta Watanabe. But Grayson Allen says, maybe it should be me. I started on the Bucks and we won the title. So put some respect on my name.
NBA champion Grayson Allen.
Was he on the team then?
I think so.
I hope he was on the team.
I think he would. No, I think
he was on them for 2 years.
Definitely.
I feel like he might not have been.
2021.
I feel like maybe he was on the Grizzlies then, low key.
But
it doesn't matter. He was starting on a contender.
I think he was in that. Wow, this would be an awkward moment in the podcast. Well, we're fact checking.
I didn't want to live be wrong, so we're gonna find his basketball reference. And in 2021, Grayson Allen played for the Memphis Grizzlies.
No,
so
I thought he was an NBA champion.
He's not.
No,
he's soon to be
NBA champion, Grayson Allen.
Yeah,
but I love Grayson Allen.
That's not a real prediction.
Yeah, don't take us seriously. Please do not leave a hate comment.
All the aggregators, don't put that in the news.
It's never like, man, Nate and Ethan, you guys are doing a great job with the pod. It's, these predictions suck. Absolutely garbage.
I completely disagree.
Yeah. No. How do you have the Heat in a playoff spot? The Heat are garbage.
I think it's actually the other way. I feel like we said the Heat are bad, and they're like, the Heat made the finals last year. What are you talking about?
Toronto's in the top 3.
Craziest comment I've seen in a minute, though. Raptors top 3 in the East. Probably not for me. That's a little rich for my blood. But Grayson Allen, though. Grayson Allen.
Yeah, we love Grayson.
He's a hooper.
Yes, he's a hooper.
Well. Okay, we'll move on from Grayson Allen.
I like
bad
Grayson
segment. But we're going to talk about the Trailblazers in the hidden piece of the Damian Lillard trade. Power forward, too many cameras. 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 6 from the field. I think he led them in scoring. He was either first or second. Simons might have had 14.
I haven't even seen a Blazers game this preseason.
Toumani Camara, he was cooking. He was out there. He's spacing the floor. He's he's going off the screen. He's pulling. He's out here. He's finishing. He's dunking on somebody.
We're gonna come back on my end when we watch some real regular season games and I see him balling out.
I think he's really going to play on the team. I'm serious. I think he's going to play for them.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to find out. We're going to come back to it.
We'll come back to him. And for the Kings, international guy, last year's EuroLeague MVP, I believe, power forward Sasha Vezenkov, 12 points in just 11 minutes. He's just one of those guys that fills it up. I talked about it, compared him to Peja Stojakovic because of the height thing. They're bigs that are going to space the floor. Peja's 6'11". I think Vezenkov is either 6'10" or 6'9", but a power forward is really going to space the floor for them. And if you're running him with Keegan Murray, the spacing on that is going to be elite. I'm going to love to see it. Had the best offense in league history, I believe, last season, efficiency-wise, and it might be even better this year. So I'm excited.
Yeah, social media is loving him,
yep.
And I think that rightfully so, because Sasha, I think he's going to contribute a lot, and his shooting, it's solid, and it's only going to add to that offense, like you said, and I'm excited to see a lot of highlights from him just coming into games and making an immediate impact.
Yeah, he's kind of physical, too. He'll throw bodies a little bit. Isn't the best defender out there, but who on the Kings is, so,
that doesn't matter. You know what Mike D'Antoni used to say back in the day when he was coaching the Rockets?
Yeah.
He said, half the defense, double the offense.
Was that when he was playing Russell Westbrook at center?
That was more of when James Harden was giving those 70-point games on a casual basis.
Sure. Yes, that month where he averaged like 45.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Yeah, we don't need defense. We got James Harden. Then we'll move on to the Spurs, and we'll just talk about Wemby. I mean, there's no one else you could really talk about. Malachi Branham was okay for them. But Victor Wembanyama, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 8 of 13 from the field. Looked just as advertised. He was phenomenal. He's great. He's super fun to watch. 7'5". He's out there blocking shots. There was one player I remember specifically. J-Dub crossed him over. He's beat. He blows by him, and he still gets blocked at the rim. It's insane. Wemby is everywhere. He's leaking out into the fast break all the time. I'm like, what is going on? They're throwing outlet passes to Wemby. He's pump faking. Lou Dort, one of the best defenders in the league, flies by. Wemby's dunking. It doesn't matter. He looked great. Spacing the floor, too, coming off of screens.
It was exciting to see Wemby, kind of translate that last game that he had in the summer league into preseason, because started out a little shaky.
Yeah, the first game wasn't good.
Didn't know what to expect. World watching just kind of fell apart.
Yep.
And now he's starting to get in that rhythm. He's starting to feel for the game.
Yep.
I think Pop worked a lot with him, and I think we're only going to see better things out of him moving forward.
Do you like him at the power forward?
I kind of like him moving around a little bit at the power forward, because I think they played him as traditional center in the summer league.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, well, maybe this isn't working.
Yeah.
So I think he's comfortable right now. And we're going to see, with the starters what he does. But
I like it defensively, too. It allows him to roam a little bit more.
It's moving around.
It's a lot like we've seen from guys like Bam Adebayo and Robert Williams, who have played with other bigs, can kind of come over and block shots on the help side. So I think that's probably what they're going to end up looking for. And I'm excited to see it. I really liked him in his debut. For the Raptors, Gary Trent Jr., another bucket getter. Shooting guard, 22 points, 7 of 12 in their win over the Kings. Kind of blew out the Kings in their opener. The new-look Raptors, top 3 in the East.
I don't know about that.
But Gary Trent Jr. was cooking. I think he's either like 25 or 26. He's a little younger than most people would think. Still has the ability to get better. I think I've looked across the league, who's going to be the guy to take that jump this year. Lauri Markkanen took his all-star jump at 27. McCall and Jalen Brunson, I believe, are both 27 as well, took the jump. So can Gary Trent Jr. be that next guy? He'd be one of my favorites to do it, just because everywhere he's went, he's been a good scorer so far in the league, and they need more scoring, especially with Fred VanVleet leaving. They're going to need more guys to score, and I think he could swallow up a lot of it.
Yeah, they're going to be trying to find some answers there because there's a lot of questions being asked up in Toronto. So can he take that jump like you were saying? And I think they're going to use him a lot, and they're going to give him a lot of freedom. And he's going to be able to shoot the basketball, and he does that well.
Yeah. Could be a legitimate case for 6th man of the year if they keep bringing him off the bench, I think, for sure. Then we look at the Utah Jazz, and we're looking at another former Laker legend, Talen Horton-Tucker. 24 points, 7 assists, kind of played the point guard for them yesterday. 4 rebounds and 9 of 18, I believe. He's not going to get that many shots in the regular season, but shot 50%. 50% is good. 50, 40, 90, That's what we're looking for. But, is a guy who's been getting buckets. He's usually one of those late season pick it up guys, when the rest of the defense kind of drops off. He says, this is my time. But he's here now. He's going to do it early season.
The bag.
Yeah, the Jazz are saying we want back-to-back most improved players. We're going to run Lowry, and we're going to run Talen Horton-Tucker. A lot of people are saying, who's their point guard? Colin Sexton is there.
We were saying it.
Keontae George is there. Chris Dunn is there. But maybe Talen Horton-Tucker says, I'm going to be the new point guard. I'm going to transform my game. And he's here to ball.
We talked about it on the last podcast. We're like, do they have a guy to, run point?
Not really.
No. I mean, you could say yes and no, because, they got a bunch of dudes that are like, yeah, I can run point.
They got a bunch of combo guards.
Yeah. And, THT, just add him to the list.
Yeah, 7 assists. I was really impressed with the passing. We've seen him score plenty of times in the past. He had a few 30 pieces with the Lakers, I believe, actually, and had a couple with the Jazz last season. Yeah. He's been a bucket getter, but the passing, the improvement there, I think, is the most impressive thing. And now we're going to go to the last team, the Washington Wizards, who played some nobody from overseas yesterday. But Daniel Gafford, who I think has been one of the most underrated centers in the league for a while, led the team in win totals a couple years ago. 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 blocks yesterday. really. 5 of 6 from the field. I think he's just solid. I think he's just a good big man. He's never going to be an all-star. I think that's pretty unlikely. But he's a good big man.
I like his streams that he has.
Yeah, he's been doing that.
Yeah, I see clips on social media of it. It seems like a real dude.
Yeah.
He was reading the Kai Jones, Terrence Ross
I saw that.
thing. But, yeah, Daniel Gafford, I think we saw a lot of good things out of him last year and a lot of highlight reels. Mm-hmm. And it's that freelance Wizards. Yeah. We don't know what it's going to look like. And
I have no idea.
No idea. But, I mean, he'll be enjoyable to watch because he can get up there, protect the rim, and also get down dirty down low.
It's the same thing you saw all the last game, really, is they have all these different guys doing different things. Yeah. Kuzma had 22. I think Poole had 18. Both of them were scoring. Kuzma was actually pretty efficient. Poole was not, which is, kind of the norm for Poole. But it is a bucket getter. Johnny Davis actually looked okay.
Surprising.
I've been very negative of in the past.
I know.
But Johnny Davis, there was a hitch in the shot. It looks kind of like Markelle. I don't really want to look too much into that. But the scoring was good for Johnny Davis. And Bilal Coulibaly, I think, is probably their most interesting player. Someone I really look forward to watching.
Gotta get your license, my guy. Get your license.
I saw Jovic graduated high school. So
I did. Congrats to Nikola Jovic. Getting through high school, man.
Yeah, but that's all the guys. The standout guy for each team so far this preseason, 1 through 3 games. There's a couple weeks of preseason left. NBA, the regular season starts on the 24th, so just under 2 weeks away.
Wow.
So we're excited for that. We're ready to go. Talk about actual basketball, real NBA regular season.
Because we're gonna be watching almost every single day. Yeah. So we will be in depth. We're gonna be on top of things. We might even live stream some reactions if we get copyrighted.
Cannot show the game.
Yeah, we're not showing the game. We're just showing our reactions. But we're very emotional.
Yes.
We give good reactions.
Yeah, that's right. But we're excited. We're ready to go. That's probably about it for us. I don't want to take us too long. We've been we stayed pretty close to 1 minute per. It's not too bad. So I think we rolled through that pretty good. But you got anything you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Shout out Pure Life Water. Can you guys sponsor us so we can turn the logos? If you guys give us a sponsor.
Right now, this is nameless brand water.
I'm just drinking water. It's not Pure Life water. It's just water now.
We poured it from the sink.
Exactly. Yep. Shout out friend of the podcast, Keegan Murray.
Always.
Future
friend of the podcast, Cole Anthony. Shout out as well.
Cole Anthony and shout out Cole Swider because he's going to be joining us.
Shout out Dereon Seabron, the big star of today's podcast, is out here.
Thanks for joining us on the Herm Cet Show. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, road to 1 million.
Road to 1 million. 990,000 away.
Peace.